Hi there, Interghost here, and today I'm going to do my top 20 Super Mario Bros. Games.
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. If your sink is in trouble, you can call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers. Hooked on the brothers.
So I'll just take the hat off, as it's quite big and it's quite hot. Yeah, Super Mario Bros. One of my favourite series of computer games, video games, from 1984, I think, 1983, something around that, right up till 2017. Games have been coming strong, and every year they seem to make the games bigger and better. And I thought I'd just go through with my personal opinion of my favourite Super Mario games in the series.
Here we go!
So at number 20 and number 19 really is the DS games, the new Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2. Now these are games which were brought out on the DS, like I said. I haven't got the physical copies. I think I've sold them. And basically they just reimagined the old Mario Brothers games like 1, 2 and 3, well 1 and 3, and made them sort of like a 2.5D graphic style. And yeah, so the reason they're so low on the list, they're still brilliant games, but they've sort of just rehashed what they did in the past and just updated the graphics. In the second one, they just put loads and loads of gold coins in it. That's the only sort of difference from the first and the second game, so they're very similar. So I'll put them at number 20 and number 19.
It's me, Mario!
So number 18, I'm going to put this with 17 and 18. These were two games which I first played Super Mario Bros. On, and you probably would have thought it'd be something like the NES, but my first experience of Super Mario Bros. Was on the Spectrum. And it's these two games here. And it's Mario Bros., which is a port of the arcade game, and Donkey Kong, another port of the arcade game. These came out in 1983 on the arcade, but they actually came out on the Spectrum in 1984. If you don't know what these are, I'll just briefly tell you what they are. Not really in the whole series of Mario games, but it's sort of where they started. First one was Donkey Kong. He was actually called Jumpman in this, and you had to get from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, while a monkey called Donkey Kong was throwing barrels down at you. And you have to save the lady at the top, which was called Pauline, I think, before she became Princess, and she's on screen. And yeah, and the other one was Mario Brothers, which they brought out many a time, and they also included it on Super Mario Brothers 3 as a battle sort of level, so you could steal cards off of each other. If you haven't played this one, basically you can play 1 or 2 players, and you start at the bottom of the screen. Creatures come out the pipes at the top and come down the screen. You have to knock them from underneath to flip them over, then kick them off the platforms and collect coins. And that's it really. It's very simple arcade 80s arcade style games. But these were ones which came with my Spectrum Plus 2 on Christmas back in the 80s, when I was probably about 6 or 7, something like that. And they are actually Nintendo games, which is quite unusual. And yeah, so that's 17 and 18.
Nice game!
So number 16 is Lost Levels. Now these were levels that were brought out in Japan, I think, as Mario 2. So after the success of the first game, they decided to bring out a second one, which is pretty much the same as the first one, but harder levels. And the first time I played this was on the Super Nintendo, and another game I got for Christmas one year, and I got it on Mario All-Stars, which is a mix of Mario 1, 2, 3, and for the first time in this country, Lost Levels. And yeah, I enjoyed this. I liked the first Mario game, and to play the harder levels was a real challenge, and I can remember playing that on Christmas morning and thinking how hard these levels really were, and I managed to complete it, which was really good. I also got it on the Wii, they brought it out again for the anniversary. Exactly the same game, but they ported it over to the Wii. And that's Lost Levels.
Mario!
So number 15 from 1985 is the original Super Mario Brothers game. Again, first time I played it, I think it was on the NES. And I played it on my brother's friend's NES. And I also had a friend who lived in the same road as me, and had a couple of goes on the original then as well. And you probably all know what Super Mario is. It's one of the most famous games ever. But you are a plumber, Mario, or his brother Luigi. You have to go through 8 different worlds and jumping on creatures and collecting mushrooms to make you bigger, fireflowers to make you shoot fire. And it's the first time they made a proper platform game with Mario characters. And you go through and then you beat Bowser at the end to try and rescue the princess. And yeah, it's probably not higher on my list because they have, with all these, made the game better than what it was. I think a lot of people love this first one because of the nostalgia reasons. Me too. And it is a really good game, but unfortunately, the newer games are a lot better. So that's Mario Brothers 1.
Hey, how about another game with me?
So, number 14 is New Super Mario Bros. Wii from 2009. This one here. So, on the new console at the time, they brought out Super Mario Bros. Wii. I'm pretty sure it was a release title, and they pretty much recreated the old Super Mario Bros. Feel games, sort of Mario 3 and Mario World, and they brought it up to date with more of a 2.5D graphic style, a bit like the DS versions, but of course on a big screen. And they also made it 4-player, I think it was. Yep, so 4 players all playing on the screen at once, and which made it really hard actually. You would have thought having 4 players on the screen at once would have made the game easier, but you could knock each other off platforms, you could throw each other and that sort of thing. But yeah, and they introduced the flying hats, propeller hats, and the penguin suit and the ice Mario suit. And these were really good. When this came out on the Wii, I was really excited because it put us back with the original series and made the graphics look really, really good. And the only downside to this game, I thought, was that they had Mario and Luigi, but for players 3 and 4 you had to be Blue Toad and Yellow Toad, which I didn't really understand. There's so many characters they could have used, but yeah, I just thought it was a bit of a cop-out using different coloured toads. But apart from that, brilliant gameplay, really enjoyed that game.
You got it!
So the next one is probably the sequel to that one really, and it's Super Mario Bros. U, and that was brought out in 2012, and like I said, it was more like a sequel to Super Mario Bros. Wii, and it's this one. So yeah, obviously they got really good feedback from Super Mario Bros. Wii, and they did the same sort of thing on the Wii U, on the new platform. And this was this a release one? Not too sure, but this was before 3D World came out, and again I really loved it. They took what they did in the Wii version and made it even better, made the graphics nicer. They had different colour Yoshis in it which could float and fly around. You could still play 4-player on the screen, but also you had the touchpad, so somebody could actually create platforms to make the game easier for the people playing it on the screen. And also you could touch items on the screen, collect coins and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was more of the same really, but which was good because I really loved the Wii version. And the Wii U did the same, but just updated it all. Same sort of format as the old games. 8 worlds, get to the end and beat Bowser. Brilliant game.
Okie dokie!
So number 12, it's Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES, and that was from 1982. And I do actually think I first played that on the Super Nintendo on the Christmas I got it. I did play it on the original NES at a later date, but as everybody knows, it's not an official Mario game. It's Doki Doki Panic in Japan, and like I said earlier, Lost Levels came out in Japan as Mario 2. but they thought that was going to be too hard for us in Europe, so they brought out a completely different game, which was meant to be not even a Mario game, changed the characters in it and brought it out as Mario Brothers 2, but still a really good game. You can tell it's made by different people and it's a different style game because you actually pick up items and throw them at people. There's secret shadow worlds, and all the creatures are different in it. It's the introduction of Birdo, the bird that fires eggs out of its mouth. But it was really good fun. You had 4 characters, Mario, Luigi, Toad and Princess. They all had slightly different attributes, so some could jump higher, some could float, and some were faster than others. So when I played that on the Super Nintendo, it was really interesting. I didn't know that it wasn't originally a Mario game, and it just felt like they tried something really different with Mario, and then we obviously found out it was a completely different game in the end. But that's Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yahoo!
So number 11, we go to the 3DS from 2011, I think it was, and that was Super Mario 3D Land, which was basically a way of them showing off the 3D capabilities of the 3DS, which is a good thing Nintendo do with their Mario games and their Zelda games, is they like to show off the new sort of hardware they've created, and they put it into their new Mario titles. Again, I haven't got a physical copy, I've got a downloaded copy of that one on my actual 3DS. And yeah, just brilliant. It's Mario on the go, it's 3D, it uses the actual 3D effects on there really well, and it was one which kept me entertained for quite a while. But the reason it's not higher than what it was a very easy, very short game, and yeah, like I said, it looked good, it plays well, but I just wanted more to it. But that was Mario on the 3DS.
I got it!
So we're into the top 10. So these are my 10 favourite Mario games of all time, up until today's date. And this next one is probably a lot higher on most people's lists of Mario games. And this is Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64 from 1996. Now this is a game which I did have. I wasn't a big fan of Nintendo 64, and it's probably the only Nintendo console nowadays that I don't actually ever play anymore. I think the graphics haven't really aged that well, but saying that, at the time it was absolutely amazing. It was the first jump into 3D gaming, and they just made another really classic Mario title. And like I said, a lot of people rank this game a lot higher than I do, but I think it's only tainted for me by the fact that I can't really play Nintendo 64 anymore. I just don't really like the controller, and I don't like the look of the games. I have played it on the 3DS since they re-released it, and yeah, it plays really well on there, but again, the graphics aren't that great. But I really like the idea of the game, an open world. You can jump through paintings and choose which levels you want to go to, do it in what order you want to, and there's lots of secrets hidden around which you can collect, like special coins and more stars to try and unlock other areas. And yeah, it's a really good game, just not that playable for me nowadays, but that's Mario 64. Now the next game is a classic one, and it came out on the Game Boy, and it's Super Mario Land, the first one, from 1989. Again, this wasn't a game I used to own. I own it now. I have quite a big Game Boy collection, but back in the day I used to play this on my friend's Game Boy. He lived across the road from me at the time when I lived at my mum and dad's house, and it was a game I used to love playing all the time. The music was amazing. The gameplay was really good. A lot of people say that it's not aged well, but I go back and play this every so often, and I still really enjoy it. It is quite easy, but it's a handheld game, and you can't save the game either, so it had to be quite easy because you wanted to play it for a short period of time. Say you're travelling somewhere in the car or on a train, and you'd want to play a game where you could have a chance of completing it, because you'd have to turn the power off and you'd lose all your progress otherwise. So I think it's the perfect sort of length, and it does get quite hard near the end, and it's just a really fun game, and it's one which takes me back to my childhood, playing with my friend across the road and playing on the Game Boy. At the time I had a Atari Lynx, so I was a Lynx boy, he was a Nintendo boy, and we used to swap the consoles every so often. But yeah, that's a brilliant game, Mario on the Game Boy.
Movie.
So number 8, this is one which a lot of people don't really rank really that high, but I think it's a really good Mario game. It's from 2002 and it's on the GameCube, and it's Super Mario Sunshine. And here it is over here. So yeah, I had a GameCube back in the day. I didn't get it on release, but I got it a few years later. I originally played this again at another friend's house who had a GameCube and really loved the game. The graphic style was a big jump from the Nintendo 64 to this, and it just looked amazing. The music was nice. The only downside to this I thought was the, I don't know what they're called, but it was on the island, the actual islanders, which, you know, the big blob things with the big noses. I didn't like them. I thought they were sort of cheaply drawn, didn't have much character to them, so I thought they could have created a better character for the island. But apart from that, the actual levels are really good. I like the use of the flood with the water. I think it's good as for a one-off game. I wouldn't like them to bring that back in another game, but at the time, and also going back to this, it's something different and it's something fun to play with. You can fly, you can wash things off the walls, you can shoot things with it, you can power your jet ski and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just a really fun game. It took the N64 game and it sort of ramped it up a level for me. And at the time, the graphics were absolutely beautiful, and the water effects and everything, I really liked it. And I'm not sure why so many people don't like this game, but I think it's really good. I'm not sure if I've actually completed it though, so I might have to go back and complete that one day. So that's Mario Sunshine.
Yahoo!
So number 7 on the list is, which is on the TV up here, the cartoon version of it, is Super Mario Bros. 3, and this is an amazing game in the series. And it was from 1998, and this was a game which, after playing Mario 1 and 2, really changed things up and really improved on the Mario series. So we were used to playing the first Mario game, which was pretty like linear. You go from one level to the next and you keep going. But this one brought a map to the like a world, and you could choose which levels you go to. Introduced more characters like the Koopalings, and so they had different bosses to fight in different castles. You could play proper 2-player mode rather than taking turns. You actually work together on the map, or you could work against each other. But you work together to try and complete levels, which was really good. I can remember playing this game with several friends who had this game back in the day, and it was one of those games you could sit there and you could play with each other for hours on end, trying to work together and complete the game. It also gave you some more costumes. So in the first game you had the Fire Flower. They introduced the raccoon suit, the Tanuki suit, and the Frogman suit, and Hammer Brothers. So it just ramped it up really from the other game and just made it a lot more fun. And it's one of those games which sticks in everyone's memories as a kid who played it back in the day. And they've re-released it so many times. It's on the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, the DS. It's on the Wii, the Super Nintendo, and it's on the Switch online shop to play. So it's one of those games that everyone loves and we keep coming back to. That's Mario Bros. 3.
Hello!
So number 6 and number 5 I'm going to join together here because they are very similar, and I think they're sort of, they join onto each other really. And that was Super Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Galaxy 2 from 2007 and 2010. So they were 3 years apart, but basically on the Wii they brought out the first Mario Galaxy game, and like I said before, Nintendo liked to show off their new consoles and what they could do. So it had a lot of sort of motion controls you could do in there, but also it just showed the power of the Wii. It was the first sort of since the Nintendo 64 is the first proper 3D Mario game, and it just blew me away when I played it. It's sort of based on different planets, and it's like I said, it's a full 3D environment, and the planets all have different sort of gravities, so you could run round and the planets spin round as you run round them. You jump and you fly away and you come back to the planets. You could shoot off into space, you could use the Wiimote to collect stars in the sky and that sort of thing. And it is just a huge game. Feels a bit like Mario 64 type game, and Sunshine, where you can go to different worlds and explore it in which way you want, collect up stars to unlock different planets, and you go through it. And that was Super Mario Galaxy, and I think they even made it better with Galaxy 2, which is this one here. They took the same idea and they made it more, they took it out of space, made it more cartoony, more down to Earth or Mario Land, and of course they introduced the Yoshi character back into it, and you had different colour Yoshis which had different abilities. And what else did they have on here? They had Cloud Mario, Rock Mario, Blimp Yoshi, Dash Yoshi, and yeah, so they just added a load more suits, a load more power-ups, and it was more of the same from the other one, so that's why I'm linking them together. It was like a sequel to it, Mario 2, but yeah, it felt more like a update or a expansion to the first game, which is really good. So it's basically you can play one after the other, and it just feels like a huge Mario adventure, and I love them. Really good games.
Yippee!
So number 4 on the list, we're getting there. We're almost at the number 1 spot. So number 4 was a game which I got on the Super Nintendo in 1990. I haven't got the original anymore. I've sold nearly all my Super Nintendo games, but that was Super Mario World, and that was just when Mario sort of really caught hold of me back in the day. It took what they did in Mario World 3, and they sort of, again, like I keep saying, and they keep doing, they just ramp up the gameplay, the graphics, and they just build on what they had before and make it even better. So it really used the Super Nintendo's power. You could tell the difference between the NES games and the Super Nintendo game. You had the big world map again, with 8 different worlds, but they also introduced a secret star world which you could find by unlocking different hidden areas. And then they even had another secret world on top of the Star World, so like a secret special world, which I can remember me and my brother found that. We borrowed the game off of his friend, and when we unlocked it, we were both stunned, and we didn't even know that there was a special world. And he was on the phone ringing him up saying, "I've just found this this special world." And his friend wanted the game back so that he could play it, and yeah, it's really good. One of my best friends used to have it on the Super Nintendo as well. Before I got my copy, I can remember spending hours around his house playing 2-player, trying to get through it. It's quite an easy game, which isn't a bad thing, and I've completed it many times, and I really love it. It's just they introduced the cape. They took away the raccoon and had a cape, and you could actually sort of swoop up and down, and you could fly over big areas of the game, and I thought it was a really good addition to the game. So that's Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo.
Let's go!
Now number 3, this might surprise people because it's actually a Game Boy game, original Game Boy game from 1992, and it was Super Mario Land 2, The 6 Golden Coins. There's probably a lot of nostalgia goes into this one. Again, this is a game which I used to play at one of my friend's house. He had the Game Boy, like I said, he was the Game Boy Nintendo fanboy, and he had a lot of Nintendo Game Boy games. And when he got Mario Land 2, I think he got it for his birthday or for Christmas. His birthday was in December, so it could have been either. I remember he told me it's really good, so I came around to play it, and I was expecting more of the Super Mario Land, the original game. We didn't have the internet back then, so I hadn't seen any screenshots or gameplay of the game. And when I turned it on, and it actually had like a full-size Mario character and a full map to play on, it just really blew me away. And I thought, how could they fit that whole game onto a Game Boy cartridge? back then, you know, we were playing games like Tetris and the original Mario game, which is tiny little sprites and quite blurry and, you know, not much to it. And to play Mario Land 2 and just the size of the sprites and the size of the game, just really, I've just thought this is the way forward. This is how games should be played. Like I said, I had Atari Lynx and it was better than those games. The only other game on the Game Boy which blew me away like that was the Zelda game. Again, another huge game, nice sprites. I just thought how these people cram all this into one tiny little cartridge was just amazing. The only downside to the Mario Land 2 is the ease of the game, because they introduced a save feature, which is really cool that they've done that. It just felt like you could complete it in a couple of hours, really, because the levels weren't that hard, they were quite short, and you could just, you know, smash through the game really quickly, and you could save it at any point and go back to it. But I think it's probably one of the first Game Boy games I ever beat, so, and it's so high on the list, so they did something right, and that's Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah!
Now we're at number 2, and this was quite a hard choice between 1 and 2. And number 2 I'm going to have to give to Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch from 2017. Here it is. So this is the newest Mario game in the series, and yeah, it could quite easily be my number 1, but I'm going to put it at number 2 because 1 just slightly beats this one. And I got this only a few months ago and I couldn't put it down. I completed it within a couple of weeks, and there's so much more you can unlock once you've completed it as well. It basically feels like a Mario Galaxy game, but again, ramped up, like I keep saying. They just improved the graphics. The music in this is really, really good, especially the level where you have to rescue Pauline, which is from the original Donkey Kong game on the Spectrum. She's back, and she's now the mayor of a town in here, and it's really cool how they've sort of made the level around the old Donkey Kong game. So Pauline's the mayor of the town, and Donkey Kong's in the background throwing barrels down, and you have to run up like the old skyscraper building which he had in the original game, and she's singing this really cool song in it, which was, I didn't know if that was going to work, but it really does. And the levels in this are really good. When I saw an advert for the game, I thought they might have gone a bit too far with this. He actually loses his hat, the old Mario hat, and he gets, is it called Cappy, I think, which is a hat which is alive, and he can throw it at other characters. It lands on their head and you turn into those characters. So you can play as Bullet Bills, you can play as Goombas, you can play as a T-Rex, and but it really works well. And like I said, the game is huge. It's just about the right level of hardness. There's loads of hidden stuff. If you you can play this, if you're not that good at the game, you can play through it and sort of probably wouldn't have much trouble completing it. But to find all the extras and all the hidden parts, you really do need to have some Mario skills. And really enjoyed it. So that's my number 2. That's Odyssey on the Switch.
It's a King Mario!
So that leaves me with number 1 on my favourite Super Mario game of all time, and that is from 2013, and it's Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U.
You can leap into a brand new 3-dimensional Mario adventure packed with fun new ways to play and awesome new power-ups that will have you pouncing and clawing through level after level of non-stop multiplayer action. So gather up the gang and discover all that's new to explore. It's Super Mario 3D World, rated E for everyone, only on Wii U.
Really, really, really fun game. It's one which you can play with 4 players at a time, and I think this is why it pushed it slightly higher than the Odyssey game, because my wife, Jack, Leo and myself could all play this at once, and you don't sort of hinder each other. It feels like you're all working together on the same screen. You can all do different things at the same time, and it doesn't feel like you're fighting against each other. It does feel like you're helping each other. The introduction of the cat suits was a really fun addition. You can run around, you can climb up walls, you can slide down walls, you can jump further, and it was just a really fun game. It looks amazing. 3D world, so obviously it's a 3D environment, much better than the N64 3D game, probably better than the Galaxy games as well, and look and feel, and all the worlds just looked really well put together. Like, they put a lot of love into this game, a lot of thought and energy and time have been put into make this game look and feel and play amazing. So it was really hard to choose between this and Odyssey, but like I said, because of the way the 4 players can play so seamlessly together in this game, this will have to be my #1 Mario game of all time, and that is Super Mario 3D World on the Nintendo Wii U. And if you've never played this game, I would even buy a console just to play this, because it is an amazing game. Probably one of my favourite games of all time, not just a Mario game. And all of these are just top class. Nintendo are masters of making games, and I think that's why they've stuck around in the market for so long, and why they keep pumping out these same titles, but they change them in such a way that it feels new and fresh and exciting every time they bring out a new title. And I really hope that they keep going forward and make more and more games like this. Another Odyssey game on the Switch would be amazing. I know they like to change it up every time a new console comes out. I'm not sure when a new Nintendo console comes out. It won't be for a few years now, so hopefully they make another sort of Odyssey based game before then. And yeah, thank you Nintendo. Thank you for watching. Thumb up the video, subscribe if you liked it, and leave a comment below of what is your favourite Mario game of all time, and I'd love to hear your reasons. Thanks.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario, take one step, and then again, let's do the Mario all together now. You got it. It's the Mario. Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario, take one step, and then again, let's do the Mario all together now. Come on now, just like that.